I'm a businessman. First foremost, I want no further conflict with him.
You tell him from me that he can live or he can die.
Vincent, will you shut up? That's it. Joey's awesome. We can't be doing this alone. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy SolaceAcheron here, and today we finally have the third Pokemon Let's Go OU unofficial viability rankings and analyses by yours truly, and the first viability ranking since the Showdown metagame has come out, which, if for those who don't know, is level 50 and Candyless, which equates to the normal mode in the Wi-Fi in the game. So basically, first off, I have to apologize to my few subscribers and anybody else watching these videos about a video I posted a little while ago that said I was quitting Let's Go, and that was a lie. So just like it shows in the clip before this, I got pulled back into the game. It's too nostalgic, the music is too good, and there's a lot of good features that you just can't ignore, and it's just pleasant to play, surprisingly. And you know what? Despite my misgivings about them not having a candy metagame, I like this metagame. It's at least playable right now, and yeah, that's really good. So again, I do apologize for that. So very sorry to anybody that I might have ticked off. But here I am doing viability list number 3, and this is the one you need to pay attention to. This is the big one. This is the most accurate one so far, and I have been editing this thing almost every day for the last week. So there's a lot of changes, so we're going to go over every major change, all the way from S plus to B plus. So there's a lot of Pokemon to cover, so with that, let's begin. So first off, there's a new number 1. There is a new S plus Pokemon, so we are going to go look at what that is. And drum roll please, it is Melmetal. What a surprise, right? Why is Melmetal S plus? Well, first of all, it's getting a lot of usage, and I mean, I don't know what the usage is because usage stats haven't come out yet. It is December 1st. I expect them to come out this week, and there will be another video for that when that happens. But from what I guess, from all the battles I've watched and the few that I've played, I would have to say upwards of 80% of teams are using Melmetal. That's a lot. That is a ton. And it is arguably the most used Pokemon by far. Why is it so good? It's just, look at that HP, that attack, and that defense. I mean, it's through the roof for even a regular Pokemon. Forget about just a Gen 1 metagame. So, basically, why it's so good right now is because it has super good coverage, really great stab, and enough status moves and unreliable recovery and rest to basically make its way through the tier. And it's also forming extremely good synergy right now. Zapdos, Alolan Muck, and Alakazam are really good teammates for it as just a core. And also just like it and Eevee work really well together, especially the careful set with Thunder Wave and Rest. But basically you're running double Iron Bash and Earthquake are like automatic. And then a lot of people run Ice Punch to hit Zapdos. Oh, there's a name we haven't heard in a while. Yeah, Zapdos. Hit Zapdos, and then sometimes it also, if it's offensive, it runs Thunder Wave. If it's defense or especially defensive or something, it runs Rest. So not sure if Melmetal is going to stay S plus, because I really don't know if that type of usage is going to stick. But if it does, yeah, it'll stay up there. And we're already seeing some counterplay to this. We're seeing some Pokemon running Fire Blast instead of like Fire Punch, for instance, and Some fire types have gained usage, and a lot of special attackers gaining usage too, because you see that 65 base special defense, it's not very good. So let's move on down to S rank, and of course at the top of S rank is Mew. Why is Mew on this here? Because as you can see from here, there are like 3 or 4 viable sets for this guy. It's super versatile. It doesn't matter that it lost Aura Sphere and Focus Blast, it's still extremely good. Most of the time I see this set, this bold nature, or maybe some plus speed nature, I don't know why you'd run that, but this can 1v1 almost every physical attacker in the game without needing an attack itself. You can put Flamethrower over Toxic for this set if you really want to beat Melmetal more easily, or Earthquake to beat Alolan Muck. It just depends. Or Thunderbolt to beat Gyarados. It depends on what you need for your team. But that set can beat Gyarados Mega Gyarados 1v1. It can beat Alolan Muck 1v1. And it can beat Melmetal 1v1. So it's a really good set. And this set is just strong. I mean, Nasty Plot on a Psychic type. Holy crap, that's really good. So very solid Pokemon. It sits at the top of S+. And next we've got what was our previous S+, or sorry, it sits at the top of S rank, but what was our previous S+ Pokemon, which has fallen a little bit, but is still S rank and still up for debate about whether it's broken or not, is Eevee. We talked about Eevee before, why it's super good. I don't think we need to go over too much of why it's good, but basically Sparkly Swirl plus Sappy Seed plus Sizzly Slide is extremely good. Basically Leech Seed plus Burn nerfs the physical attackers and is passive damage every turn plus passive recovery. And Sparkly Swirl is probably the best move in the game. It's aromatherapy. It's a Moonblast aromatherapy. That's great. It hits everything. Nothing resists, or nothing is neutral, you know, like, it's not like it's a dragon type move and you can switch fairies in on it. Nope, always happens. But the reason why it's fallen mostly is because I just want you to look at those defensive stats. They're not very good for Eevee, honestly. 65, 70, 85 defenses are not solid at all. So despite it being able to like burn Melmetal, for instance, you know what? Melmetal still 2-hit KOs with double Iron Bash as long as it's not like a bold Eevee. That's crazy strong, and Eevee is crazy frail. So yeah, it ends up like, okay, yeah, sure, you crippled one of my Pokemon, but also you're dead. So that's a thing. So yup. Okay, so we have to move to A+ now, the A+ rank, and sorry for the choppiness of the video or even a change in quality or anything along those lines. I can't get QuickTime to work properly at all, and I'm just gonna move to my other screen recorder and pray to God. So we've got Alolan Muck here, which not much has changed for why it's here, and unfortunately, while it's being used a lot, the only reason it's being used a lot in general is because it's holding Gengar and Alakazam from being too broken. And the Megas, by the way, and probably the regulars too. It's just the go-to check to Psychic types, and honestly it works for most Psychic types. But there's counterplay starting to be made against it. I mean, Mew is running Earthquake a lot more, Dazzling Gleam on Mega Alakazam now, stuff like that. Will-O-Wisp on Gengar, stuff to just prevent Muck from getting an easy switch in every single time. One thing has changed on Alolan Muck that's different from before, and that's the fact that it is running Fire Blast now, oftentimes over either Rest or Toxic, or even you could run it over Poison Jab, because honestly, what are you hitting outside of Clefable with Poison Jab, right? I guess you can get neutral damage on stuff, but if you can just get Toxic instead, it's a little better. But Fire Blast is to hit Melmetal. We talked about how Melmetal is creating some counterplay, and that's one of the counterplays I've seen. And if you ask why would you run Fire Blast on a special attack minus nature, it's because even with that, it still does more to Melmetal. Instead of doing 25 with Fire Punch with a a careful nature, you're doing 35 to Melmetal. So it's totally worth it, especially if Melmetal is low. So, yep. Let's look at this surprising member of the A+ list who's just snuck in there, Zapdos. You might say, doesn't Zapdos take Stealth Rocks and doesn't have Defog? Indeed, that is true. Isn't it true that you screwed up on the viability list before and had Heat Wave on Zapdos, and it still sucked? This is true, I did screw up really, really badly, and I apologize to everybody. I, for some odd reason, thought that Heat Wave was a TM, and it is not. Isn't it true that Zapdos' only offensive coverage moves are Thunderbolt and Drill Peck and the occasional U-turn? That is indeed true. So why is it an A+? Why is it good? First off, it has U-turn, as I just mentioned. U-turn is so useful on an electric type. Super, super, super useful. It creates so many great opportunities because so many Pokemon want to switch in on Zapdos. Namely, Rhydon and Golem, Nidoking and Nidoqueen, and sometimes, for some odd reason, Melmetal. So it's able to just switch out on them and bring in something powerful to take them on, such as Starmie, or Mega Blastoise, or even Venusaur, or Slowbro, or Alakazam, or a whole plethora, or other Melmetal, or a whole plethora of Pokemon. And all it does is take another 25 from Rocks, which sucks, but it's got Roost to roost that damage off. And here's what's really great about this Zapdos. Why Zapdos is just perfect for this metagame. The bold nature can 1v1 Melmetal every time. It will never die to Ice Punch. It will never die to Earthquake if it catches it on a Roost. It's able to 3-hit KO Melmetal with ease, and if there's any prior damage on Melmetal, then it's an easy 2-hit KO. But honestly, these choices of moves are all your choice. You can run whatever you feel is best, and you can run any of those natures. Honestly, it will work. Now, why is Modest on there, despite maybe a more defensive-minded Pokemon? Well, here's why. Against Adamant Melmetal, there is a Thunderbolt has a 49% chance to 2-hit KO after Stealth Rock. 49, that's basically 50-50 chance it's a 2-hit KO on Melmetal. Now, if you don't like those odds, you can just run Bolt. But if you do like those odds, you can run Modest and catch it for a ton of damage. Especially if you get that, 47 to 50 roll every time. You're in really good shape. Honestly, great shape. So, next on the list is Mega Alakazam. This has definitely gone up in the viability list by a ton. Mega Alakazam shot up, basically. It was, people were like, oh, it's not viable. It's totally walled by Alolan Muck, and there's nothing that we can do. Despite its speed, Alolan Muck is just going to wall it forever. Not true. One thing happened that people started to run that really changed my opinion and probably the entire metagame, and that's people running Calm Mind plus Dazzling Gleam on their Mega Alakazam, along with Psychic and Shadow Ball. That is the difference, because now I wrote here that Dazzling Gleam hits Alolan Muck, but at +2, it obviously fails to 1-hit KO, but it does a lot of damage. Well over 50%. It is an easy 2-hit KO. And, yeah. So you don't use Mega Alakazam in the early game. You save it until end game. And if Alolan Muck is low from all the chip from other Mew and maybe Starmie, for instance, then Mega Alakazam is going to come in, speed tie with everything, and basically win. And just to prove how stupidly fast this Pokemon is, if you are not running a naive nature on your Cloyster, which a lot of people just run like Rash or Modest or something to get that really strong Hydro Pump off, guess what? Mega Alakazam outspeeds +2 Cloyster. Wow. That is wicked fast. So, even then, sometimes, and by the way, just for when we get the Cloyster, well, I'll talk about that later. Next, Mega Gengar, which is unfortunately on the way down. You know, it's not much has changed outside of Will-O-Wisp as an option. It's still got the same problems, you know. It hasn't found a way to really like beat Alolan Muck. It can punish it with Will-O-Wisp. You know, it can burn it on the switch if you're able to predict that, and or get some damage off with Thunderbolt. But honestly, it's not like it can't beat it in the late game unless it's really, really weak, like 30%, and it goes for a Thunderbolt as Muck is burnt. So, you know, we'll see where it ends up, but honestly, right now, if you're going to use a Mega of these two, use Mega Alakazam. It's just 20 times better. Speaking of Megas that are really good, Mega Aerodactyl was originally going to be S+ on my list, because about like half a week ago, when I was watching these games, everyone was using Mega Aerodactyl. That thing I said when it was like, oh, this Pokemon can just set up rocks early game and just completely dominate and have rocks up the whole game. That's really, really good. Turns out it's not as good as I thought. What people started to do is when they saw Mega Aerodactyl on the opposing team, they would counter lead it with stuff like Melmetal, Bulky Waters, or even like Rhydon, which I believe when it KOs with Rock Slide, or very close, at the very least, it totally walls Mega Aerodactyl and forces Mind Games. So basically what other players decided is, okay, you can get rocks up on me. That's totally fine. But what I'm going to do is take out your Mega Aerodactyl. You won't be able to Mega Evolve with another Pokemon. You'll be at a huge disadvantage. You'll be down 6-5 basically, without doing any damage to me at all. So, and if, for instance, you do lead Mega Aerodactyl and I have Melmetal and you don't want to risk that, you're going to take a huge amount of damage from a double Iron Bash. Even if it's on Zapdos. Or I'm going to predict that, you know what? It just puts you at a better advantage, even if you get up rocks later, it seems. So, and people just design teams that don't take much damage from rocks. So, you know, Mega Aerodactyl is good, but it's not S+. Ooh, let's talk about this Pokemon. Another Pokemon that just I didn't think would be very good, that got a huge boost. Starmie, running that beautiful timid nature. It's a really good Pokemon when it comes to coverage moves, which a lot of Pokemon don't have very good coverage in this metagame. So, even though it lost Rapid Spin, sure. But what it gained was Scald and Hydro Pump, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Psychic, and it can even run Calm Mind and Recover. I mean, it's got enough bulk and just enough strength to be able to dish out strong coverage against Pokemon. Probably the best thing that it can do is that it 3-hit KOs Alolan Muck after rocks with Hydro Pump, which is really fantastic. Thunderbolt can hit Mega Gyarados on a switch in, or 1-hit KO normal Gyarados if they decide to be that clumsy. And honestly, like, it's really good offensive Pokemon that puts up a lot of pressure, especially with Zapdos. You can just U-turn on Zapdos and then boom, Starmie's in, and it can either get off a big Hydro Pump on a Alolan Muck or potentially a Scald Burn, which will do more and cripple the Muck. So that's a thing. So very, very good. I've even found it to be better than Slowbro. Let's talk about Rhydon, my friends. Rhydon, actually not much to talk about here. Nothing much really changed outside of me putting Dragon Tail over Megahorn now. You can run an Impish Nature as well, though I really wouldn't recommend it because Rhydon's strength is its power over Golem, and the fact that it has that Dragon Tail and some of that neat coverage. But honestly, you know what? Rhydon is just a solid Pokemon, and it finds itself on a lot of teams. It's the popular choice right now. Despite Golem almost being as good, I don't think a lot of people know that Golem is almost as good. It's fine though. I'd rather promote Rhydon than Golem. Honestly, I don't want him to be close. But yep, here's my bias. I think Rhydon is 20 times better as a Pokemon simply because of Dragon Tail. You can, when Zapdos, you know, you switch in a Rhydon on a Zapdos and you know Zapdos is switching out, you can phase it out, do damage on the Zapdos, and then get something else nice in and potentially get off more damage. Super useful. Golem can't do that. Alright, Mega Gyarados, guys. Whew! Mega Gyarados. Despite losing Dragon Dance, here it is. Stats didn't really change much outside of Earthquake potentially being a viable option to hit Melmetal for some damage. But it's super useful because having lots of dark types is super good. Now, unfortunately, Mega Gyarados is weak to both Thunderbolt from Mega Gengar and Dazzling Gleam from Mega Zam. So it's not the best choice, but it's super bulky just in general. If you don't feel like using one of those, this is probably the Mega to use. Really useful Pokemon. Super strong. You can one-hit KO Rhydon with Waterfall, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but Rhydon's really bulky. Yeah, really, really bulky. So, Mega Gyarados, super solid choice. Mega Venusaur, on the other hand, is not a very solid choice. Not a solid choice at all. Being weak to Psychic has started to really hurt it now that, like, Zam is on the rise and Mew is on the rise, and, right? Having a Psychic weak Pokemon is not good in this meta. Really at all. And despite it having that Leech Seed recovery that's so beautiful, it struggles immensely against a lot of Pokemon. And honestly, I see other Pokemon taking this slot in the future. I really like Venusaur. I think it's a solid Pokemon. Not much has changed for it, but yeah, it just is what it is. You know, it's a decent Pokemon with some, unfortunately, a big flaw. So let's move down the list. We got Aerodactyl again in A rank. So, you know, if you're not using Mega, it's still a solid choice. Let's talk about this. I think this is huge. That arrow is an understatement. Entirely an understatement. Mega Blastoise has all of a sudden become a complete devastating force in OU. An unexpected Mega, nonetheless. I mean, you expect it when you see it, but you don't expect it. And honestly, it provides so many problems to the normal balance of teams right now. This is the wild card Mon. Okay. You know how I talked about maybe +2 Mega Zam being able to 2-hit KO Muck with Dazzling Gleam? It has to be at +2. Well, guess what? Mega Blastoise has a 99.6% chance to 2-hit KO after rocks are up with Hydro Pump. That is no joke. That is a solid 2-hit KO on a Alolan Muck, which cannot do much back. So if it switches into this Pokemon, gone. Gone. The only problem with that is, like, okay, well, you would want Mega Zam to set up against that, but honestly, you can use Mew. You can use normal Zam. There's a problem with that. Or just keep winning with this. But honestly, like, for more balanced offensive teams that don't rely on one of those fast Megas to win, this is extremely good. It has really good coverage in Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, Flash Cannon. Extremely good coverage. It hits everything. Pretty much super effective. It's a wonderful Pokemon, and I'm super looking forward to using this Pokemon. Mega Blastoise. I saw somebody use it, and I went, oh my god. And then somebody used it against me, and it was like, oh my god, this thing is amazing. So that's a thing. We've got Gengar, which is okay. Alakazam. Let's talk about Mega Bro, guys. This was like Pokemon that I just loved. I was so excited for it. It was gonna be so broken and so good, and it's not. It's really not that good, honestly. Starmie does its roles better, and with Gengar and Alakazam and Muck and Mega Gyarados floating around the tier like they are, and even to an extent, Mega Blastoise and Venusaur floating around the tier. This struggles immensely despite its amazing bulk. you have to get up to like +2 or 3 in order to do something with this Pokemon. And it is still hard-walled by stuff like even Starmie, and Eevee can just cripple it too. It's just, it struggles to do what it's meant to do because it's not that bulky without the candy. So honestly, this is a Pokemon on the way down as well. Same with Venomoth here. Oh, this is totally wrong. Ignore all this. Basically, Venomoth can't do what it was. Yeah, that was early testings in the game. Jesus, I forgot to change this. Basically, long story short, is that Venomoth can't do those things anymore, and that's why it's mediocre and it doesn't have good enough coverage. It's still a dangerous Pokemon, and it can easily sweep a team who's, with its win cons out of the way. Especially if rocks are not up, it can just do a ton of damage. It's a very good Pokemon, but it's on the way down as well. Don't be surprised if this thing falls completely out of viability by the time that rank number 4 comes out, whenever. Take a look at Dragonite, guys, because another Pokemon that has definitely been used quite a bit and is super solid. Dragonite has a new set for it, basically. I'd still like the Careful set as well. I think it's a really good set, but it can run Agility plus Outrage, Earthquake, and Ice Punch for really decent coverage on almost the entire metagame. And Agility doubles its speed, making it outspeed everything. I think everything. I think it outspeeds Megazam, and if not, what is Megazam doing back unless it's +2, right? Yeah, so it is a solid Pokemon, and honestly, I caught a shiny Dratini, so of course I'm going to be using this Pokemon. Yep, very solid choice. Nidoking is another Pokemon that I've come to like quite a lot, and I've seen a lot of it, and it's just really good. It's a ground type with Stealth Rocks that completely walls Zapdos to every degree. It can't Toxic Nidoking because Nidoking is a poison type, and Thunderbolt doesn't affect it, and Drill Peck honestly doesn't do too much. It does quite a bit, but not too much. And it can set up rocks against it. It can Dragon Tail stuff out. I love Earthquake, Ice Beam, Stealth Rock, and Flamethrower. I think that set is great. Flamethrower hits Melmetals that think they can switch in. Like, hey, how about you get to it code by this? So basically, it's just super solid Pokemon. I love it a lot. Amistar hasn't really changed. It's still a really good Shell Smasher, but Cloyster, honestly, I should probably put Cloyster above, but I still think that Ammonite is better as a Pokemon, but Cloyster is the solid one right now. Hydro Pump is really good. It hits like a tank, but I want to point this out right now. If Cloyster is running a naive nature, if you only take Stealth Rock damage, Adamant Melmetal will live a Hydro Pump. Just barely. At least it has a chance to live, a good chance to live. And it will kill with Double Iron Bash. If you're running a modest or plus special attack nature, Cloyster will always kill with Hydro Pump against Melmetal, but Mega Alakazam will outspeed. So I just want to point that out. For people using Cloyster, know that. Yeah. Know that you need to either weaken Melmetal or have a naive nature. Then this thing is dangerous. So, yeah, and for those who see Cloyster, know that as well. Golem Alola, it's went up a bunch. It is 4x weak to Earthquake, which really sucks, but I want to keep it in on an Earthquake anyways. Honestly, you could run Fire Blast over Earthquake if you wanted to on Alolan Golem. But what's nice about it is that it can hit Starmie on a switch in, and it does a little bit, Zapdos takes neutral, which is nice. It's just not as good as, honestly, it's not as good as Golem in my personal opinion, but I don't see Golem ever. So, because then people are just like, well, Rhydon is better. So, when it comes to like what's better, Golem is better than honestly probably all three, but maybe not better than Rhydon, but Golem Alola is more viable, so that's the thing. Chansey is on its way down. Poor Chansey. You know, it went really far down, but for me, it's on the way up. People are just, you know, it was like, oh, well, Chansey can't do anything in the candy metagame. It sucks in the candy metagame. So it's taking a while for Chansey to rebound. But I see a lot more Chanseys than usual than at the beginning. So, honestly, its niche is changing a little bit. I see lots of Reflect, which I didn't put on this. But, you know, lots of Reflect and Teleport sets. Teleport, I think, is really good on Chansey. It can come in on a special attacking Pokemon and then teleport out if it didn't take anything at all. But, yeah. It's honestly, because there's so much counterplay against the Alolan Muck, that, like, this is a Pokemon that can kind of undo that counterplay. It kind of works with the Alolan Muck to check those nasty Psychic types. Still totally walled by Gengar, but Gengar can't do much back, so it can teleport out. So that's a thing. Which, by the way, I want to just say this for the future in Ubers. In Sun and Moon OU Ubers. If Teleport keeps this effect, you're going to see Teleport Chansey. It's not just like a, oh yeah, this is a gimmick for right now. No. That's a thing that will affect the metagame in Ubers forever. Yeah, if Mega Gengar ever doesn't get banned, I don't know. Let's move down to A-. Nidoqueen, just like Nidoking, it moved up. And it is the one that has Super Fang. I made a mistake on Nidoking, not in this video, but before I thought it also got Super Fang. Nidoqueen has Super Fang, though. So, you can run a Bold Nature and basically similar sets, but doing 50% to any switch-in is pretty godly in a tier with no recovery. So, that's really nice. Venusaur, same thing. It's on the way down. Slowbro. Nothing changed with Mega Pinsir or Vaporeon or Golem. Golem and Clefable are on the way down, especially Clefable. Melmetal is everywhere. I don't see a place for Clefable in this metagame with so much Melmetal. It's like if Landorus T had 80%, you would never run anything weak to ground. Seriously. Executor, moving to B+. We're really at the end of the list here. B+, Executor on the way down. Oh, let's talk about... But there's some interesting things here that I think are on the way up. Kabutops is one of them. Really super solid Pokemon. Honestly, I've been swept by this Pokemon. Honestly, it's another really, really great lead against Aerodactyl. Because you know what Aerodactyl does? It sword stances in the face of Aerodactyl. Because Kabutops can also use Stealth Rock. So it's usually forced to go for rocks itself or taunt. And if you don't get it, you get a kill on Aerodactyl. So even if you get it wrong, right? Let's say you go for the sword stance as it taunts, and then it goes for rocks. You still get a kill on Aerodactyl, and you didn't take any damage. So, and if you do set up the sword stance, watch out. Bulky stall teams suffer against this Pokemon. Melmetal is a wall, but Waterfall can flinch, and I've seen Kabutops just destroy. So, Mega Charizard X, let's talk about this Pokemon for a second, because I see lots of Charizard X on the ladder because it's a popular Pokemon, just in general, but not as much, you know, like not a ton. After all, it takes 50% from rocks, and it's not the best choice for a Mega. So I'm going to teach y'all how to use Charizard X, how you should use Charizard X, and why Charizard X is actually a good Pokemon when played properly in this metagame. First of all, you need to lead with Charizard X as long as they don't have a Rhydon or a Aerodactyl, or predict that lead, depending on what the opponent's team is. But the idea is you need to get this Pokemon in before they get up rocks. Run an Impish Nature. In my opinion, I think the Adamant Nature, it's got Outrage. It cannot afford to switch in starting out like that because it does not have the health to do it. It comes in at 50%. You need to run Roost on this Pokemon, absolutely. And you need to run Flare Blitz because of Melmetal. But why I like this Pokemon, Will-O-Wisp, Flare Blitz, Roost, and Substitute Impish Nature, is because it's basically a better it's a fire type Zapdos with lots of useful resistances, and the number one thing that it can do, burn Melmetal, burn Rhydon, and it can beat Eevee 1v1. Okay guys, when it subs up on Eevee, Eevee can't touch it. Okay, it's got a fairy type move which does damage, sure, and breaks its sub. But Charizard will always outspeed and it will always either 1-hit KO or 2-hit KO with Flare Blitz. It cannot be burned, and when the sub is up, it's a sub for free. So get this Pokemon out before rocks and just beat the metagame, the slow metagame. It is still strong as hell, but I see people running Earthquake. I see people running Outrage, which I think is just not good on this Pokemon. Honestly, you just need a fire type move for this thing to survive. And if you really want to run an Adamant Nature, you still need Roost, but you should run Thunder Punch to hit the flying types, and to hit water types, and Earthquake to hit anything weak to Earthquake. I suppose you can run Outrage there, but honestly, I don't even like the Adamant set. Impish is the best set for this. Yeah, absolutely. And I will probably eventually make a Charizard X team and show y'all the power of Charizard X. Here's an unexpected Pokemon in Alolan Sandslash, guys. It's gone on the way up because it's got Sword Stance and Ice Shard. I was hesitant to put this Pokemon here, but I saw it sweep a team. That's the only reason it's here. You can use it if you want. But honestly, do I have to talk about this Pokemon? I hate this Pokemon. Mega Kangaskhan is on the way up because, it's got Sucker Punch and Crunch, which means it can, and Fake Out, so it's got double priority, which is really great against Gengar and Alakazam. Definitely a viable choice. It also has Ice Punch to hit Zapdos, so that's really useful. Mega Beedrill's on the way down. Snorlax not anywhere. Arcanine. I think Arcanine right now is the best non-Mega check to Melmetal, and that is why it's here. You can run Dual Fire. I saw Flare Blitz and Fire Blast because it just, it hits Melmetal harder. Or Will-O-Wisp. But honestly, with Adamant Nature, super good Pokemon that only takes 25 from rocks. And really strong on most standard teams. Nothing can switch into this type of coverage. Honestly, it's a sleeper Pokemon. Very good sleeper Pokemon. Just be careful because it is weak to rocks, and so many Pokemon do check it. And I think, no. Okay, so these two Pokemon, we talked about them before. Honestly, Dodrio just isn't as good. It's solid, but it's just not as good. And Electrode fell because I'm not seeing hyper offense at all. It's just not working in this metagame. Too much bulk, too much offensive bulk. Kingler didn't change. Onyx is on the way down just because I don't see it. Moltres way down, still way down. Alolan Ninetales way down. I see a lot of Pikachu, and let me tell you why Pikachu is really good. It's got Calm Mind, and it has Zippy Zap, which is basically electric type extreme speed. That's amazing. That's so cool. And it's got really good attack stat too. But after Calm Mind, it does tons of damage with Splishy Splash against checks. It's dangerous. Do not underestimate this Pokemon. Unfortunately, it's frail. It's super frail. It dies to everything. So, and honestly, that's about it. That's pretty much every Pokemon I wanted to discuss. So, yeah, let me tell you my plans. As you know, I failed with the first capture card. It didn't work. It was a terrible capture card, but I'm gonna fix that. I messed up by not getting it this week during all this Black Friday sales, so totally screwed up. So I'm gonna have to pay $60 extra to get an Elgato game capture card. But I'm planning to get it because I am making some solid money right now. So that's good. And then I'm going to do lots of Wi-Fi battles. Speaking of Wi-Fi, if anybody has means to get Melmetal and Mew for me, please contact me. Please. I don't have anything to give you, but I would love to have those on my team right now. Because I'm also not spending the $50 to get Mew. That's just bullshit. I'm waiting until we can hack. It's gonna happen, I assure you. And other people will get it to me eventually. So. Otherwise, that's about it for now. I know this is a huge video. It's super big. I'm going to chop it up into little bits. And I'm going to put timestamps and stuff. So hopefully y'all got through this. For now, see y'all later. See you next time. Peace.